I think I was part of something legendary. The magic in that Friday night and Saturday night is the direct result of three guys playing every night for 2 months straight. We're smart enough to use the last two shows where we were the hottest. As a result, we put out a record that is super famous to this day.
My name is A.B. Fawn, and I'm the founder of Impex Records. Impex Record reissued Friday Night in San Francisco on both 33 and 45 RPM format. Response was tremendous. It was a very well-loved album, and we received many accolades and industry awards. So when Saturday Night in San Francisco came to light, Chuck Granata, who is the co-producer, and John Jackson, who was the head of Legacy at the time, was inquiring if this was a project Impex would be interested in. And at first, I was like, there is no Saturday night. There's a performance, but there's no actual album. And that's when it came to my knowledge that there's tapes, 40-year-old tapes hidden in Al's basement, treasures that have never been released. And I immediately reply, big yes.
I look at the tape boxes a number of times. This is a different night, you know. This was captured so well. Ambient mics picked up the audience so beautifully, which also adds to the sound of the guitars. You have this kind of bigness.
We do pretty much the same thing every show we record. It's the same process. You want to end up with clean tracks and no distortion, no clipping. So this is in the analog days. And I think we did this 16 track, if I recall. So I had a remote truck. You know, it's a big bobtail truck. We parked it on the street. And I think on that show, we had 3 direct inputs. Each guy was direct. 3 guitar mics, acoustic mics. Here's how I usually mic the audience. I'll put 2 mics up front for the screamers and whistlers, and then 2 mics pointing towards the rear to get the hall and the venue. So I always do that. We got the same sound both nights, and it's the magic that they're playing.
You know, I had the tapes for 40 some odd years, and just sitting there in my studio, and then I got approached, you know, John and Paco a few times, and I think, you know, just over the years, you know, they didn't really focus on the fact that there was, you know, another night and different material for Friday night. So I reapproached John at the beginning of the whole COVID thing in the early 2020. And I said, John, you know, I said, I have to bring this up again. You know, these tapes are just sitting there and they're quite good. You know, you really should reconsider. He goes, oh, you forgot there was a Saturday night. You know, I said, yeah. Do you know we played 2 nights? We have enough of material for another record. Maybe 2 other records, you know, a different material. And he said, oh, okay, all right, send me something. He was a little reluctant at first, but then I sent him something. He was quite surprised at how good it was and how good the quality was. And so we took it from there. And then we Sonny put it in your lap, and you really made it happen. I mean, you were very diligent on every aspect of this project.
Thank you. Well, we definitely ran with it, and we wanted to give it our all. I mean, album following Friday Night, which is, you know, legendary album. There's a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure, right?
So we knew this project existed, and the question is, how do we bring this project to the market? And I thought a lot about it because besides the excitement of Saturday night, tapes hidden in Al's basement for 40 years, but the heavy weight and responsibility of doing a great job. Because Friday night is so iconic, it's known worldwide. So to put out a Saturday night, it's a little nerve-wracking. So I started to think about the team and what I would do. So I spoke to my partner in crime, Bob Bance, at Elusive Disc, and we started discussing on what do we want to do, how we want to bring this project to fruition, what it would cost, who would we need to bring in, and we decided we were not going to spare any expenses. We're going to go all in. So we went and started assembling the team, and it started with my wonderful attorney, Andrea Yankovsky, who is my go-to for problem solving. We began by reaching out to Sony to negotiate a licensing arrangement, meeting with Al's manager, Gary Kassem, to make sure that I get Al and John and Paco's widow, Gabriella, on board. And then how do we get our hands on those tapes? Now, we know we had analog tapes, which was fabulous, but we didn't know the condition of the tape. Al worked with his engineer, Katsu, with the tape transferred and the edit. And the finished edits were sent to me for review, and they started doing the mixing. When I got the final mix, I felt that there was more on the tape that we could extract for him. So I spoke to Bob Vance and decided we were going to do it again, round 2. Engineer Ulrike Schwartz took the tapes to the world-famous Skywalker Sound and had the tapes rebaked and retransferred there. We extracted a lot more information out of those tapes.
Impex has set itself apart by making the finest analog reissues of older recordings in any genre. So to learn that tapes of Another Night from the same run existed and that the repertoire was completely different was really exciting. Because first of all, it features 3 of the greatest guitarists in contemporary jazz history and flamenco jazz history.
From Skywalker, we sent the tapes to Roy Hendricks, who is the mixing engineer in New York City, to create a new mix for us using the new transfer.
Part of my process approaching mixing this was to listen to the Friday night record. Then I started to realize it was done at a famous studio, the mixing, by people that I knew in the business. And then I realized I knew a lot of people who worked at that studio in 1980. So I reached out to them and found out what equipment they were using. Did they use synthetic reverb? If so, what kind? That sort of thing, during this particular year. Katsu and I have known each other for a long time, and we've been friends for many years. And he did a really great job at editing and showing, us where things were supposed to be and really giving all the details, and really made my life a lot easier than it could have been. Having the right things in the foreground and the right things in the backgrounds, which the music sort of tells you what to do, and if you pay attention. And when you get those 2 things working together, you wind up with a really nice picture, a sonic picture. We're printing it from here, from this console right to the tape machine, and that's how the listeners will hear it, in its really faithful form. As I started mixing it and listening to all the details go by and everybody's performance and playing and the order of things, the more I fell in love with it. The more I fell in love with the playing, realizing how clear everybody's performance is, the articulations, everything is just so unbelievably great. So it's a really quite a beautiful album.
Look, if we had, it could have been a double album. Maybe it should have been a double album, but we had to, maybe we heard a few little mistakes here and there, little things, and we said, let's choose that one instead of that one. But, when you go 40 years later and you listen to it, you go, wow, this wasn't bad at all. And I said with the John, wow, it wasn't bad at all. So here we have it. John was a little different than me, in the sense that he says, I love it all. Don't edit anything. I said, John, you gotta edit it. Mistakes. Because I might have made a mention that I wish I could just redo that line or change that note or, no, I love the mistakes. I love it, it's human, keep it in. I said, well, I can't change it anyway, but he liked the live thing. He liked all the, whatever happened. Keep it in it. That's a good attitude. Paco would have been different. I would have, I don't want that, He didn't read music, so whenever there was a composition, and we did a couple of studio albums as well, we did have to record a certain section at a time. He was king and still is regarded as king of flamenco guitar. He's the guy I all looked up to. even today. And another thing about the trio that, you know, in the early days, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. When we traveled, we were like three brothers or three close friends that every day I remember playing cards. We played for pretty high stakes.
And we wanted to make sure also that both Al and John and even Gabriella, Paco's widow, was going to be proud of this album. Being able to reach our vision, we heavily rely on the team we work with. And I feel really grateful that I've been working with the same team, which seems like forever. I've been working with Bob Donnelly, who I call the year. He is very involved in the mastering process. He's also our QC manager, and nothing gets onto press without his approval.
I'm Bob Donnelly. I'm responsible for the sonic quality of all the records. Of course, quality control, pops and ticks, things like that. This title is unique in that it's never been released before. Roy did was add ambience to it, makes it more musical. It felt more like a performance than an attack of the guitar, so to speak. So I think he did a really good job conveying what the performance was probably like.
Saturday Night in San Francisco, you call it the Guitar Trio, but officially it's Saturday Night in San Francisco.
Yeah, Bernie can take pretty much anything and make it even better.
This is side two. This is side two.
Oh, I know.
This is a precision reel. Feel the weight of this thing.
I know, I have.
Yeah, did you?
I love it.
This thing, these precision reels are so that you can, wind a little more. See, these are very close together.
Sure.
Man, but the machine can handle it. These machines, these Studer machines, it's built exactly like a 2-inch machine. Well, here's the moment of truth.
All right.
Okay.
Here it is,
I want to
everyone.
hear Bernie.
On a scroll, it's exactly the same speed.
And then it's similar layout. It should be, right? Because they were. Yeah, good.
Okay, now you're right. Maybe Lathe 1 is the way to go now that we've got the ambience on the tape.
Well, it's one of those things where you might want to have a little test of each one.
Okay.
Because we do this all the time anyway. That's what we do.
Yeah.
We also have the other way too. We can go. We don't need to go through the board because it sounds like the other one. It sounds good.
Right.
The thing is, I'm kind of an odd person that way in that I've got a real sense of music, and I really respond to music. I have a good sense of it, and I have a good sense of how to manipulate it. At least now I do, but I didn't so much then. But I knew a good record when I heard one. It's going to be good because when it goes through the processes and comes out on vinyl, it should be spectacular.
Just having Bernie say that and his reaction was a lot of weight off our shoulders. We knew we were there. We used both solid state and tube plate to see which would be most suitable for this album. And Bob Donnelly took home the test refs, and we kind of tested them out on various systems. We usually take our test refs and listen to them on 3 to 4 different systems to see what it would sound like if this album was being played on a more conservative system, a cartridge that was not as revealing, or more a high-end system, or a cartridge that's more revealing, just so we know what the end user is hearing.
In this instance, from baking and cleaning and transferring the tapes with meticulous precision at Skywalker Sound, to taking those analog transfers and editing and mixing them in the analog domain and then having them mastered for LP and SACD by the brilliant and legendary Bernie Grundman at Bernie Grundman Mastering, has created one of the finest recorded products ever made.
There's a great synergy, and we kind of all know what the end game is, what our goal was. So we knew what we were looking for, the essence, the feelings we wanted to capture. I work with Robert Slager, who I have been with for 22 years, and he does all the beautiful jacket and labels and booklets and liner note, all our marketing materials have all been created by Robert Slager.
My job as a designer for Impex Records is to take Impex's vision for making the best possible quality records and combining it with Al's and the trio's vision of honoring the original Friday Night in San Francisco. One of the great bonuses of that is we had the active participation of Al de Meola in every step of the way. And we even had input from John McLaughlin and the estate of Paco de Lucia. So it was almost like we were being blessed to do this the right way. So I had my original meeting with Al de Meola, and he basically had two simple requests, not requirements, requests. One of them was that he wanted us to use purple, which is apparently his favorite color. And then the other one was that he wanted us to use foil stamping. And when I say foil stamping, we mean this. Instead of using ink, this is actually holographic foil. And it creates this nice rainbow color that represents the original record. Al is a big fan of the way this record came out. And his vision was that Saturday Night would be a continuation of this particular design. But what wound up happening is our timeline is incredibly tight for this record to get it out on time. So I proposed that we use metallic inks, which don't have the flash of a hollow foil stamp, but they do have a sizzle and a pizzazz and a classiness that you're not going to get with regular inks. So once he had signed off on that, I did a lot of research about how to do metallic inks, and it was quickly apparent that we weren't going to be able to do it the normal way. Normally on a press, you have 4 colors, black, yellow, cyan, and magenta, and they're printed at different angles on paper in a way that they blend together because they're transparent. They blend together and they create the thousands of colors that you see on a normal piece of printing. But with metallic inks, they're opaque. You don't see through them. And because they're opaque, you can't just run one immediately on top of the other because the ink below is still wet and hot. To deal with this problem, we had to lay down the silver ink first, then come back and run the purple separately. So this is very time intensive, it's very work intensive, it's manpower intensive, and it's cost intensive. But when you get it right, it has that special quality that you simply can't simulate on a 4-color press. So it's a little more costly, it's a lot more detail oriented, but the results are pretty spectacular. We really want this project to have a wow factor when the people interact with it. We want it to have an incredible shelf appeal, and we decided that using spot inks and metallic spot inks was a way to go without making it look garish or over the top. This is a high-class record. It needs to have a high-class appearance. And we think the results from the effort were definitely worth it.
God, I love how this
Isn't it gorgeous?
is hot. It's pretty.
It's really beautiful.
Get the sun on this just the right way. Gorgeous. Exactly like I imagined.
Mr. Swagger, you want to do the honor? All right.
Oops. Done.
So in addition to making a new jacket, we also wanted to add value to the project and expand the wealth of knowledge that people could have from this night by providing a booklet as well. The booklet is also done in all metallic ink, just like the jacket did. We're gonna give you guys photos of the artist, guitar representations of mountains, studio photos, Chuck Granata's excellent essay. But anyways, to put it all together, so you're getting the whole story. You're getting how the record was made, how it all came together, and the contributions of all the people that made Friday and Saturday nights what they are. And now that it's done, it's off to RTI for pressing and final packaging.
We team up with the artists, the estates, the families to see what else we can bring to the story to share with the fans, the audiophiles. I know that we're very proud of this album and we know it's going to do great. And we felt like we brought the energy and the performance to the audience. And we're hoping that it'll tap into a younger audience too. I mean, if you see and hear what these three legendary artists do, there's just no word. There's just no word. I feel blessed that, you know, my team and I were chosen and we were able to bring Saturday Night in San Francisco to the world.
I mean, when Al hit the scene, when I was young, it was a total game changer. I mean, he was one of those monolithic kind of things that just appear. And you're just like, wait, what is that? Wait, you know? And it was at a time when kind of fusion needed stars. The thing that he has that's so profound, besides all the chops and everything, is a sense of melody and timing.
You have fans all over the world. And now that you have Saturday Night after 40 years, is there anything you want your fans to know about the album? Anything you want to share?
Well, if you like Friday Night, then I think you'll also be delighted with this record because, you know, it's not a different take of each track that's on Friday Night. They're different tracks. So it was the complete show. Now you have the complete evening, you know.
Thank you.